We're going to be going over the huge creatures known as Titans inside of My Singing Monsters and what exactly they are. Before we begin, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button though, guys. Titans are often mismatched with Colossals. There's a lot to be confused with, I think, in terms of both terms, as when you're looking at Colossals and Titans, in all honesty, it's very easy to mismatch them and think that one is the other when it truly isn't the case. The seasonal shanty is an exception to Colossals and Titans, as that island is just a landmass that isn't in fact tied to any living being, so that is the exception to the Titan and Colossal rule. But on screen right now we have a list of all of the Colossals and Titans in game, so you guys can work out which ones are Titans and which ones aren't. Now in comparison to the Colossals, the Titans are living, they can't sing, and they are a part of the land masses in game. They are awake too, unlike the Colossals, and their backstory is unknown. So this compares to the Colossals, which aren't living as land masses, as they aren't tied to the land biologically alike to what the Titans are, as they are literally the land masses. As we went over in his Colossals episodes, the Colossals are in fact spirits, so they differentiate immensely. The Colossals can sing, whereas the Titans can't. The Colossals aren't the land, they aren't awake alike to the Titans, and the backstory behind the Colossals is known. Now, there's a bit of an exception to that rule behind the backstory, which we will come into in a minute, because we do actually know the backstory behind one particular Titan. But other than that, them differences are what make up Titans and Colossals. So as for the Titans locations in game then, I think we need to take a look at the map, as the locations behind the Titans I do think are an essential part in the lore behind the Titans, so I do want to clear that up first of all. The Titans take up residency where the outer islands inside of Dawn of Fire originally were. So if we pull up a map now of all the outer islands inside of Dawn of Fire, and we take the positioning of the original islands from the original game and look at it from that perspective, and then we shift to the prime reality, which is the dimension which all of the islands that we know, such as Cold Island and all the natural islands and every island in game that is in the main dimension. If we look at that map for that, with the exception of the pocket dimension to the side, as that is another main dimension, I would say, inside of the My Singing Monsters multiverse, along the prime dimension here, we can see that each Titan takes up residency where the outer islands were. Now, I've placed all of the islands that you can see on screen here in a very precise location that I believe is true based on my theories. However, at the moment, if we are going back to what we have confirmed, this is what we have confirmed as of right now. So let's trail back and go over my theories over where each one is. First of all, we have Bone Island, which is located underneath Firehaven. Bone Island resides very far deep underground. We saw that in the trailer as well. However, particularly we saw that it was underneath Firehaven, so that's where I've got that location from. Then we have Light Island, which I've placed to the side. Light Island is different as it is mobile and it moves around a lot more in comparison to the Titans. We went over how the Titans are able to move. However, they seem to reside in these specific locations. For Light Island, it's a lot more mobile, so I wanted to locate it to the side of the map to indicate that fact. And then we have Fairy Island towards the bottom. That's just one which I've had to take a bit of a guess, to be honest. And I've also put Seasonal Shanty in the middle of where the natural and magical islands are residing. I've done that as the Seasonal Shanty is the home of the seasonals, as we know, so because of that fact, I feel like it has to reside in the middle of all of those, because we know that seasonals are on the way to all of those islands, all the magical ones, the fire ones, so placing Seasonal Shanty in the direct middle of everything I feel like is the best option for theorizing where Seasonal Shanty is going to go. And then two, we have the Colosseum, which is based along the seam. I took a bit of a guess on whether the Colosseum is on the seam. However, seeing as though it's very much tied to quests and it's very involved with us, I think that makes a lot of sense to place it along there. I think that we aren't going to get too far deep into, but the seam is basically a line where tons of islands reside. And then we also have the Sanctum, which I obviously have placed in the pocket dimension. I've placed it in that area where it is in, as when the Sanctum was revealed, it was also revealed that the monsters that were traveling to Ethereal Island were seen hints towards the Sanctum. So I feel like it makes sense for that location there. Now that we've been over the locations behind all of these Titans Titans, so let's go into the nitty-gritty and look into the lore behind each one. So first of all, we have Cruv'Laapht, where if you're saying it properly, you do have to say Cruv'Laapht, which is a really weird, but Cruv'Laapht is encompassed by all of these eyes all across the island. We don't know if the eyes are part of Cruv'Laapht. Biologically, that are floating. However, going by its design, it would certainly make sense that it is, especially with the psychic element. Upon the psychic monster's arrival, Cruv'Laapht actually did awaken, and we've seen this with Enchantler, who is the magical sanctum titan. Yet, I do feel like Cruv'Laapht was a very monumental one, as this was the first mark where we saw titans for the first instance, and also just an island coming and awakening overall for the first time. So this was the first instance of there being a titan. Then we have Faesodd, who is the fairy island titan. We have some glowing whiskers that come out underneath them. We have the lovely feathers on top of them. And then we have Nekrull, who has loads of bones. You know it. Everyone knows it. And a huge sparkle that amasses across their eyes. The eyes behind the titans are very different to the Colossals. As we've mentioned, because the titans are awake, often in their designs, they do encompass that. If we have a look at Cruv'Laapht, you see the eyes that are open all the time. That doesn't happen on any island at all in game, so that's quite a monumental thing. Then we have Faesodd. That's unfortunately asleep as of right now, and it doesn't open its eyes. However, in the lore, it is opening its eyes. So just imagine it does, I guess. And then for Nekrull, its eyes are awake all of the time, as you see the glistening inside of it, and it actually does have crystals inside of it. For each one of these, seeing as though we do get a full preview of these titans, we can make out that these titans are very much different in comparison to the Colossals. The Colossals are so similar to one another. The eyes are all very similar, whereas with the titans, you're looking at them being very different in comparison to those. Then you have Phosphora, who's the Light Island Titan, and I love Phosphora. I love Phosphora because of the amount of lore that's integrated with Phosphora. Phosphora, the Light Island Titan, is so cool. Its eyes have a lovely glow inside of them, and it's much more mobile, as we've been over, than the other titans. This means that Phosphora changes positions, unlike the other titans, which seem to remain in a particular spot where the outer islands resided. We know Light Island takes up the residency of where Party Island was, and all of the islands on the screen I've put for you guys to where the positions were originally. I know we went over in the map, but just for confirmation there's that. Phosphora doesn't move specifically just anywhere though. Phosphora has been confirmed follows the Aurora Monstralis. The Aurora Monstralis, like the Aurora Borealis inside of our real life, is a huge amount of light that is up in the sky. Phosphora, quite interestingly, follows the Aurora Monstralis, and this is what causes Phosphora's movement throughout the monster world. It's not been confirmed whether Phosphora follows the Aurora Monstralis or if the Aurora Monstralis follows it. However, going by how the rest of the titans don't really move that much, I think you guys can definitely work out that it does seem to indicate that Phosphora is the one following the Aurora Monstralis. Something really interesting behind Phosphora though is that it originates from the Prism Dimension. It's what you see inside of the Prism Gate inside of Dawn of Fire, and having that there definitely intrigues me towards Phosphora's origins, and it's something that I would love to explore in the future. Hopefully sometime we do get confirmation on Phosphora's backstory, as that is something that I would love to hear more about. Up next we have Enchantler. Enchantler is probably the most popular titan out of them all, so you probably have a really good idea of what Enchantler is and the huge horns that go about them. A popular fan theory in the community is that the huge berry-like substances that you see for rocks on Magical Sanctum are acne-like spots that emerge from Enchantler due to it being in the pocket dimension where Ethereal Island resides, which is separate once again to the prime reality where all the islands exist inside of the monster world. Enchantler, quite interestingly, moved from the prime reality originally to the pocket dimension. Enchantler's lore goes so much further than Phosphora's, however that is something that I am going to leave for next week's episode, as I want to go really in depth into Enchantler. Up next then, we have the island skins, which are a part of the lore, even though they take up the same position as far as I'm concerned as the natural islands, and they're in that kind of area. They are titans, these huge land masses. First up we have Harvard, who is the vegetable medley skin titan. Then we have Sweti from the Sweti settlement, then Gigacheep from the Gigacheep nest skin, and a Glubber from the Glubber Lagoon, and then we have Hahoo Hahoo, who's from the Temple of Hahoo. For the Glubber, though, that we went on about from the Glubber Lagoon, this is where the lore comes in right now. The rest of them don't really have that much lore. However, if we're looking at the Glubbers, they really have a lot of lore. I would advise you guys to go and watch my Glubber lore video for more in-depth lore into Glubbers, as it really is interesting. There is a story behind their evolution, but a brief summary behind it is that Glubbers are originally Glubpoles, and that's what we see inside of Dawn of Fire, and then they become Glublets, which is what we see in the Water Island skin in the background. If you look really closely, you can see them in the background. And then we have Glubbers, which come through in the Glubber Lagoon skin. The Glubber Lagoon Glubber, though, it has been revealed inside of its clams, apparently the gift of Glub is something that emerges once a specific monster goes towards the clams at the back of Glubber Lagoon. I don't know what on earth this could mean. I think it's so hard to work out something like this. It's so teasery and does absolutely nothing, unfortunately. Find what it is, and they've not into it at all. So I guess you guys' thoughts on that would be really interesting down in the comments. That is Titans and what they are in essence, and what I really want you guys to take away from this video, though, out of anything, if you're going to take anything away, take away that's Colossals and Titans are different. Because everyone gets that wrong, and if I've made that point clear today, I've done something right, and I'm very happy about it. If you enjoyed this video, though, guys, make sure to leave a like down below, and make sure to subscribe too, guys. I will see you guys in the next Lore Journals episode. If we take a look in the journal, next episode seems to be based on Nekrull Island and the Sanctum. Who would have guessed from earlier in the video?